Well, folks, it's time to kick it old school. So you can feel cool. Give it to me, baby. Baby. Yeah.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Garage Gear. I'm JB, and today we're doing an oil change on this 2019 Toyota Tacoma TRD Off-Road. We're going to have some fun with this one, ladies and gentlemen. Stick around. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you might be saying, hey, JB, why don't you just take it to the dealership and let them do it? Well, I could do that, but it's going to cost me about $80 to $85 to have them do it. I could do it myself for about $30 to $35. That's why we're doing it today. Let's take a look at all the tools we're going to be using today to get this job done. What we're going to need first is our oil. It is 0W20 full synthetic. This is from Amazon Basics. This is a great high quality oil. You can watch all the other videos on this, ladies and gentlemen, and do your research. This is actually a pretty proven motor oil. We're putting this baby in that Tacoma today. We have our oil filter, our gaskets. This little guy's pretty much garbage. We're not going to use this. This is a drain tool, and this actually makes quite a mess. I have a better tool. I'll show you that in a minute. We're going to need some latex gloves, definitely some paper towels. We're going to need a pick to get our old gaskets off. We're going to need a 12 millimeter socket, and I'm going to use my impact driver to help get the skid plate from underneath. Then down here, I have my oil drain container. I have my MotivX oil filter removal tool. This is actually really nice. A little pricey, but I think it's worth the money. It was about $25, but it is solid steel, ladies and gentlemen. This thing will not bend like the chintzy ones will, and this actually gets the oil filter off with ease. Very nice tool. I also have the MotivX oil filter drain tube here, and this I actually like a lot because I can drain the mess directly into this container here without it blowing around as it kind of comes down and out. So that's kind of a nice piece, better than that little chintzy plastic tool they give you. I also have this funnel here, which we'll put the oil in with. I also have my cardboard, always got to have that. Don't want to make a mess, don't want to make the wife mad. Then I got my garbage bag for all my paper towels, and then over here our trusty 225 piece Pittsburgh socket set, ladies and gentlemen. Great little set here. I'll actually put links for all of these items down below in the description. So first things first, we have to pop our hood. It is located right down inside, right there. Kind of hard to see, but we gave it a quick pop. So, ladies and gentlemen, here is the inside of our engine, and it is a little dirty. I actually am going to do a video on cleaning under the hood here, a simple process that I use. Let's get down to business here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, first off, you can't be afraid to get your hands dirty. So what we're going to do is we're going to get this skid plate off of here. I have 4 12 millimeter bolts, one here, 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 and back here. I'm going to take those off with my impact driver and make a little bit more room for myself. Here we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I bring you here underneath the truck, we just took off the skid plate. That was hiding the oil filter, which is located right here. I'm going to come back to that in a moment. And then I'm going to slide you all the way back here. If we go way, way back, there's our drain plug. All right, so we're going to take that guy out and get this thing empty. So here's the cool thing about this MotivX drain tool. And no, ladies and gentlemen, this is not a sponsored video. I purchased this with my own money. This cost about $25. And what you do is you stick this end up into our filter here, and then as it's tightened up in there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to twist this knob up, and you're going to start to see this little end here come up and in. And what it's going to do is it's going to open up these little drain holes. If you look carefully, you can kind of see through it. All right, that's going to allow oil to seep through, down through this tube, and then into my drain bucket over here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my end of my tube here, and it is a little cold outside, so this tube is not really flexing too well. So what I'm going to do is I still have oil draining into this bucket. So I'm going to take this hose, and I'm just going to point it down into my bucket here to drain into, and that's going to allow me to work up here. And then I'm going to take this end, I'm going to stick it in just like that, and I'm just going to hand tighten this. I'm not going to snug it down, because if I were to crank this guy down, what could end up happening was I won't be able to get it out with ease. So now it's in there, and then I'm going to start twisting up my knurled end here, and you're going to start to see oil flow out. Pretty cool. I'm going to open it all the way up. I'm going to let it go. And it is actually going right up into my bucket. Pretty cool. So now you can see that I've moved this hose inside, and you can see that it is dripping out of that tube. There's not a lot of oil up in that oil filter cartridge, but there is enough to make a good mess with that other little chintzy tool that they give you. Okay, I added a little bit more light here so everybody can see what's going on. Our tube is pretty much done draining. There's just a little bit caught up in here, so I'm just going to tip the hose and we'll let it kind of flow out. Now it's time to get this guy going. We're going to unscrew this with our MotivX wrench tool. So now we're going to take off our MotivX drain tube. There will be a little bit of oil leaking here, I think. Maybe, we'll see. Maybe we'll get lucky. But I think the whole point of this is to get everything out, right? So I'm going to kind of close this off. Huh. Not even a drop. Not too bad. There is a little bit of oil up in there, but it didn't even drip. Pretty cool tool. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take our MotivX wrench tool, and it has 3 slots on one slot on the other side. So I'm going to kind of line this up where it has to be, and you can see that fits very snug. That doesn't move. I'm going to take this thing off with ease. I'm going to snap on my extension just like that. In reverse. Oh boy, that guy's on there. There we go. So it did drain most of the oil out of here when we used that tube. So there's only a very little bit of residual oil on the outside of this. And we do have just a little bit dripping out from up top. So I'm going to set that down. Wipe out in here. I brought everything back to the workbench so everybody can kind of see everything a little bit clearer. Here is our oil drain plug. And it came with this black gasket on here, and this is the old one. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to throw it in our box, and it comes with a brand new blue one. We're going to put that on, and then that will be all set and ready to go. This is the little cap that went underneath our oil filter casing right here. I'm going to set this off to the side. Here is our dirty oil filter. I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it in our box here, so that way if it does leak, it's going to leak into the box and not into the bag and to get everything else covered in oil in the garbage. So not that I really care about it too much, but it's just going to help kind of keep things a little bit neater. Here's our new oil filter, and we're going to stick this inside. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take this oil filter casing, and as you can see, there's a little bit of oil floating around, sloshing inside. I'm going to drain this out really quick and then wipe it down. All right, so I just drained it out. I'm going to quickly just wipe it down really fast. Get any junk and gunk out of it. I want it just about as clean as possible. It's pretty dirty. So now this is where our little bit comes into play, and I got this all as cleaned out as best I could. I'm going to take this gasket here on this outside edge, and I'm going to pull up on it and get rid of it. This is our old one. We no longer need it. It did its time. They give us new ones. So I'm gonna take that one off. And then there's one on the bottom here. I'm gonna use my pick and pull that guy off, just like that. Then, as part of our oil filter package here, they gave us these new gaskets. I'm gonna carefully open this. I'm not gonna cut it wildly. I don't wanna cut up my gaskets. And I'm gonna take these gaskets out, and these are gonna go and replace the ones I just took off. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take our oil here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take our gasket, I'm gonna dunk it inside the top. I'm not gonna drop it in. I'm just gonna get most of it in there, get some oil on it, and then I'm gonna take that oil and I'm gonna beat it around this whole rubber gasket, just like that. Now I have oil on my fingertips. I'm gonna take some of that oil, I'm gonna spread it also onto this little gasket. Just like that. If I need more, I can dunk my fingers back in the oil and spread it on that way, but that should be enough. I'm gonna take my big gasket here, and there's one spot that this has to go. There's a small channel. It's right here. I'm not gonna put it all the way down here. I'm gonna put it right inside this channel. So you gotta look closely. That's where this gasket is going to rest. I'm gonna pull it around. I'm gonna work it down, and boom, just like that. She's right where she needs to be. I'm actually gonna add just a little bit more oil to that. And then our other small gasket is gonna get pressed right up inside this guy right here. And that's where our gaskets go. I'm going to pop our new filter on inside. And these should go on either way. There we go. She's in. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my oil, I'm gonna kind of just dunk my finger inside, get a little bit of oil on my glove, and I'm going to put a bead of oil around the bottom, and then a bead of oil around the outside of this ring, just like that. I'm now gonna take my little steel plate here, I'm gonna screw this back in. I'm gonna take my socket. And just crank that down real quick. That'll do. So now let's get back under the truck. We're gonna put our oil plug back in and our oil filter. So our next step is gonna be getting our oil plug back into the spot. So I moved my oil bucket out of the way. It's pretty much done dripping at this point. I'm gonna wipe off where it was coming out. Very little coming out. This has been draining for about a half an hour. All right, so we have our oil drain plug with our new blue gasket. I did put a little bit of oil on this gasket so that way it does not stick. And then we're gonna twist it back up. Again, we're gonna use our 14 millimeter to tighten it down. 14 millimeter socket. And that'll do. So I have my oil cartridge. Here's where it's got to go back in. Here's a little tip. Get a lot of oil around this gasket. It'll help it go in a lot easier. So we're going to twist it back up there. Get it to that point. We're going to put our MotivX tool back on it. We're going to crank it down. And I'm gonna snug it down. That'll do right there. I don't wanna crank it because then it's gonna be really hard to get off. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so what I've discovered here is when we take off our cap, MotivX actually makes a funnel for this, but I've actually seen that funnel to be quite a bit too small. And then it does drain well, I'll give them that, but also the cost of that funnel is $25. I'm sorry, I can't justify spending $25 on a funnel. This funnel is $2. This is what we're gonna use today. So now that is all done, we're gonna take our funnel out, catch any drips. We're gonna put our cap back on. Okay, so we're gonna reset the maintenance reminder here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm going to scroll over to the little wheel on the right. I'm going to go to settings. I'm gonna use my little shift pad right here, and I'm gonna go down to maintenance reset. I'm gonna click that. Maintenance reminder, reset it, yes. Maintenance reset complete. And we are now gonna back out and put it right back to where it was. So I have 14,713 wonderful miles on this Tacoma, and many more oil changes to come as well. Hey everybody, thanks again for tuning in to Garage Gear. Again, I'm JB. Stay tuned for further videos, and if you have a Toyota Tacoma and you do your own oil changes, please tell me how it goes down in the comments below. And I'll see you in the garage.